What is going on, everybody? It is NexusComplex, and once again, thank you for joining me for another RPL Season 2 video. Today, we're taking on the Nuzlocke King and his Texas Tauros. This team has got a lot of potential threats on it and a lot of things that could happen. Mainly, the first pick that they took, Dracofish, their S tier. I think everyone kind of knows what Dracofish brought to Gen 8 meta. Vicious Rend, I've heard it called broken, I've heard people call it unfair. I don't think it's unfair. Yes, it power doubles if it goes first, but he's also not that fast. And there's ways around it. So, you gotta kind of set Dracofish up for that. He doesn't need to go first, he doesn't need to hit a Vicious Rend. He's plenty strong without it. But he's kind of frail, so that's the big thing about Dracofish. Gets moves like Outrage, Crunch. His abilities are Strong Jaw, Water Absorb. Don't think he has Sand Rush yet, but it's the hidden ability. But yeah, Dracofish can be pretty good. I've seen a lot more people running Strong Jaw recently instead of Water Absorb. One of my ways to counter him in practice was to trace with Gardevoir into a Water Absorb Vicious Rend, heal up, and then Moonblast him into Oblivion, much like Vegeta shooting Cell when he was still imperfect and blowing him in half. So yeah, that's the approach I was taking. But that hasn't been working lately. People are running Strong Jaw instead. So that's a thing. Next, we're getting into Arcanine. Arcanine's a Pokemon I had last season in another league, so I kind of have a good idea of what Arcanine can do. Arcanine is a better physical attacker than he is a special attacker just because of the move pool. His special move pool is kind of limited. The one thing that really sucks about fire types, especially physical fire types, is the best move that you get is Flare Blitz, what hurts you. And a lot of fire types don't really have a good form of recovery. Arcanine has Morning Sun, but it's not as reliable as something like Soft Boiled or Wish or something like that. Its physical move pool is pretty versatile. It gets like Psychic Fangs, Crunch. I think it gets some like other moves like Thunder Fang and things like that. So it can run a bunch of different sets to counter a bunch of different things. It's definitely fast enough to do some damage. And one potential thing that's always kind of fun to do is use Burn Up and become typeless with Assault Vest and just see what happens. I've done that a time or two. He gets really bulky in the right spot, so definitely something to look out for. Then we get to Celebi, who has just recently got introduced into the Gen 8 meta because of the release of Pokemon Home. I'm working under the assumption that the Celebi that's going to be being ran is going to be a straight up special attacker and probably have a little bit of recovery. Grass Psychic is fairly good. It's pretty good against my team because I have Seismitoad, Salazzle, stuff like that. So Celebi outspeeds a lot of my Pokemon, so that could be a problem. And I don't think a Gardevoir Mystical Fire is going to take it down. Celebi is going to be a wild card in this. I admittedly don't really have much experience going against Celebi. Training on Showdown or even before the league started, I have just not encountered many Celebi, so we'll see how it goes. Next up is Mimikyu, which Mimikyu is really, really good. Disguise is a great ability. It's essentially a Focus Sash and you lose like 12% of your health. So I will gladly take that every day of the week. You're basically guaranteed if you want to at least one turn of setup because you're not going to faint. So a Swords Dance, Mimikyu hitting you with a Play Rough could end your day very quickly. Mimikyu is also a Ghost type instead of just Fairy, so it's got access to Trick. It's a very good Trick Room setter because of its speed tier. It excels at that more in double battles than it does single battles, but it could set Trick Room, and a lot of the team that I'm looking at here could definitely benefit from a Trick Room in the right spot. So Nothing you have to look out for with Mimikyu. And then, of course, Shadow Sneak priority, stab. Shadow Sneak is pretty strong with Mimikyu, especially if you get Swords Dance off. So, Gardevoir could have a lot of trouble with Mimikyu. Then we start getting into the Pokemon that I feel like are more niche, but still bring versatility. The first up is Swine, which right off the bat you're thinking probably going to be running Eviolite. I could see it running Assault Vest, but generally if I've seen a Swine in Showdown or on my Switch, when I've seen like the one or two that people run, it's Eviolite with Stealth Rock and Icicle Crash and stuff like that. And that's generally what Swine wants to do. I'm not too concerned about Swine, honestly. But that being said, I could completely just overlook it and get crushed by it. Next up is Alcremie. I broke down Alcremie a little bit in my team breakdown after the draft. I like Alcremie, but I don't think it's nearly as good in singles as it is in doubles. You can't use Decorate. Its special attack is so-so. Its speed's not good. Its defenses are good and it's got decent HP, but I feel like Alcremie in singles without a Gmax could just be a setup Pokemon for the right Pokemon. So like if he brought an Alcremie and I can get a Corviknight in there, I might be able to just bulk up, because I don't know, unless you go strong investment for Mystical Fire, I don't really see Alcremie touching Corviknight. And honestly, a lot of the other Pokemon on the team, I think, give him a little bit more to it than Alcremie. I think Mimikyu is a much better fairy than Alcremie. It's not as bulky, but it still gives you a fairy type to switch into a dragon move if you expect it. So you could go really bulky Alcremie. You could try to just do something crazy, maybe go Scarf with high special attack, see what happens. You could even go Specs if you wanted to, like a bulky Spec set. See what happens, catch somebody off guard. But yeah, I don't think I'm overly concerned with Alcremie. I kind of know how Alcremie works. I have a decent idea of its move pool. Now we're going to get into Cloister, who I've also kind of touched upon before during the draft breakdown when I was talking about Barbaracle. Cloister has the ability Skill Link, which I'm not sure if I've ever seen a Cloister not running Skill Link, which means any move that hits 2 to 5 times automatically hits 5 times, no matter what. So you do a Shell Smash, Skill Link, hit everything 5 times, gets like Ice Shard, Rock Blast. So that's kind of what Cloister wants to do. So as long as you bring some priority, that's generally the best way to shut down Cloister. If you see Cloister, hit it hard, hit it fast, have priority, and that's generally the end of Cloister. If you bring Cloister out of the end and there's no priority and you can get a Cloister setup, it could be GG. So you definitely got to be cautious about what's going on with Cloister, and if you can get it out and get rid of it fast, that is the best option, because you don't want to have to deal with a Shell Smash Cloister when your team's beaten up at the end of a battle. Now we're going to get into Hitmontop. Hitmontop functions similarly to Hitmonlee, except it gets Mach Punch, which is really nice. Mach Punch is something I wish Hitmonlee had. If Hitmonlee had it, I think it would be so superior to Hitmontop. Other than that, Hitmontop is one of the premier rapid spinners in both metas. He's good, gives you the fighting coverage, close combat. Also gets access to Bullet Punch. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I don't have it in front of me, if he gets Sucker Punch. I know Hitmonlee does. So it could be one of those things where maybe like Hitmontop got Mach Punch and then Hitmonlee got Sucker Punch, and maybe they didn't get the other moves. Something like that. I'm curious to see what type of item he runs on Hitmontop. I feel like Hitmontop's got to come, because at this point, looking at his team, that's the only Hazards clear that I see on the team. So I think Hitmontop's going to come. Now we get into the last 2 Pokemon on the team. Stelix, which has a ridiculous defense stat, 200, which is I think like the highest stat of any Pokemon possesses in the game at 200. But everything else is mediocre, especially the speed and specials, which special attack doesn't matter, but that special defense, basically, if you see a Stelix, just hit it hard with special defense. You can throw an assault vest on it, double it up. It can work as a stealth rock setter. You can throw like a normal gem on it and maybe run like double edge and not take the recoil and do 120 base with a boosted normal gem. And I could see normal gem boosted double edge with Iron Head doing a lot of damage to people. Also gets like Rock Slide, can set Sandstorm. Stelix also gets Sunny Day, so it can set Sun if you need it. Also gets some of the Fang moves, so it could pull some elemental stuff out. And the last thing I can really see that could be pretty beneficial is a Bulldoze to drop something speed. It obviously packs EQ, it's got Iron Tail, things like that. Yeah, I'm interested to see if Stelix comes, what's going to come out. There's a bunch of possibilities, but I just don't see it being anything more than a setup or a physical attacker. It really doesn't have the stats to be much else. Then last but not least, the least popular Rotom, in my experience, Rodent Frost. So Rodent Frost, like the other Rotoms, gets the elemental attack that corresponds with its typing. So it gets Blizzard in this instance, which has 70 accuracy, by far the least accurate of the moves. So I think that's part of the reason why it's not as popular. Also, Ice is just not a great typing in terms of defense. Thunderbolt, Thunder, Shadow Ball. It can trick, Electro Ball, Volt Switch. I think I talked about Rotom Fan earlier. They basically function the same way. All the Rotoms work essentially the same. It's just the elemental typing is a little bit different, but everything else about them is the same. So it gets Blizzard as opposed to Hydro Pump or Leaf Storm or anything like that. So yeah, that's the thing with Rodent Frost. Looking at the team, I'm expecting Dracofish, Celebi, Hitmontop, Mimikyu, Arcanine, and Swine. Swine or Stelix. I think you bring one of those two to set some hazards, set some rocks or something, and make me work for it. I think that's what's going to happen there. That's what I think he's going to bring to the table. So now we're going to kick it over to the battle and see how it goes. Alright, so I was actually pretty accurate and who he brought to the team. I think I got 5 of the 6 correct. The only thing that I missed here was that he brought Cloister instead of a Hazard Setter. So he's got a Rapid Spinner but no Hazard Setter. So if I can get some hazards onto the field, which I really only have Stealth Rock with Seismitoad, if I could get some rocks down with Seismitoad, I could definitely cause some problems getting rid of Hitmontop. Here we go. I lead Salazzle. Goes into Celebi. I was gonna fake out. He switches out. So I'm a little. I don't know why switch out to Celebi. I will find out after the battle why he switched out. But I found that curious. I thought Celebi would have probably lived a Flamethrower or a Sludge Bomb from Salazzle and probably one-hit KO'd with the Psychic. Switches back into Celebi here, gets hit with the Sludge Bomb like I expected. It didn't kill. Took it down to 57. So now I'm going to see if I can get a Mystical Fire in here. I thought he was going for Psychic. Doesn't go for Psychic. Uses Heal Bell. Now I'm really wondering what's going on with the Celebi at this point, but can't worry right now. Here comes Arcanine. Mystical Fire. Eats it. No worries. Here comes Seismitoad. Now I'm going to try to get some rocks and things down. Eat the Iron Head. So here we go. Celebi comes back, gets Stealth Rock. It's a grass type. I'm good. Let's get out of here. Hitmontop comes out. Expected. It sucks for me though because we both switch. I go into Drampa, which is a terrible matchup for Hitmontop. So I'm going to go to Gardevoir. And this is where the battle goes sideways. That Mach Punch hurt, but that Bullet Punch was a crit, and that definitely mattered. I would have taken out Hitmontop without losing Gardevoir. And then from this point on, I don't really have a good check for Hitmontop. I didn't want to lose Barbarical there, but I was going to, so I tried to keep him alive. Go into Hitmonlee. You Sucker Punch, it doesn't kill. So then I got Mach Punch, and now I've lost Gardevoir and Hitmonlee to Hitmontop, who I did not think was going to be causing this much havoc. So I'm finally able to get rid of Hitmontop. The Hazard's still in the field, but I've lost 2 of my heavy hitters right off the bat. Now I've got to deal with a Mimikyu that's going to boost itself with Swords Dance, and I've got to break the disguise. So, fantastic. I get a little bit of RNG luck here with the Mist Play Rough, but it goes right back the other way with the Mist Toxic. Not that the Toxic really would have helped too much, but a little bit extra damage here with the Life Orb and an EQ would have possibly got me in a position, but it's fine. He makes a great read here and doesn't use Shadow Sneak, goes for the Play Rough, catches me coming into Drampa, was trying to get that immunity, and he just kills Drampa. I'm finally able to take out the Mimikyu, but at this point the damage has been done. Drampa got 1 hit KO'd. Dracofish comes in. Easy call for him. I'm hoping that maybe he fishes Rins. He called it. He outrages. I've got nothing to resist an outrage at this point. So now we're just in a bad spot. I fake out, hoping that the outrage only goes 2 turns, so he gets confused. I get lucky, and he does get confused, but then he just switches out. So I go for the Sludge Bomb here. I really wish I would have got lucky, and it would have done the extra 1%. It could have changed the battle, because Salazzle's still at almost full health. Then he crushes Salazzle with Psychic Fangs. I don't think Salazzle would have won me the battle, but it, you know, at 92% health with some Black Sludge, it had a chance to do a little bit more. So, who's to say? It doesn't really matter now, because the battle is over. Dracofish is going to come in here and clean up the rest of the team with some outrages. So, big shout out to Nuzlocke. You outplayed me this week, not just in team prep, but also the way you actually played in the battle. You did a very good job, a very good job, and you deserve that win. And that was your first win of the season, and if you keep playing the way that you did, I think you will get more wins throughout this season. Also, Nuzlocke posted his video before mine, and he said that Celebi was a decoy. That Celebi was just to get switches, and it worked perfectly because it checked 2 of my Pokemon amazingly well in Salazzle and Seismitoad. So he was getting me to kind of play around Celebi, and for looks like no reason. Check out his channel. He's a cool guy. Links in the description. So we dropped a 3-1 on the year with that loss to the Texas Tauros and Nuzlocke. And now going into week 3, we got a tough week ahead of us as we have Rivet and Lonnie. Both their teams look good. I've watched some of their battles. They both seem to be really good coaches. Not that there's people in this league that aren't, but based on some of the games they've played, they seem to really know what they're doing, especially with their team at this point. So I've really got to bring my A game next week if we want to try to keep this momentum going, or we could easily be back at 500 after our great start and be sitting at 3-3 after 6 games. So we're going to do our best to avoid that. If we can split next week, I would take it. If we go 2-0, that would be amazing. I think the chances of that are very slim. That's all I got for you guys for today. I hope you enjoyed the content. And until next time, guys, I will see you on the next one. This is NexusComplex, out.